Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and in this video I wanted to do an unboxing and first impressions of the Foxola Endoscope inspection camera. The first thing I'll do is show it on Amazon here. There's obviously a lot to choose from, but I think their price is right where it should be. As of right now, $124, but you get a $20 coupon. So I would definitely say that around the $100 price point's the sweet spot. There are cameras that cost more and ones that cost less. But for what you get, I think right in the middle is definitely fine. And one thing that separates this one is it has 3 different cameras, so you can get different angles, and it says also it's capable then of a 360. So I assume they're wide angle cameras, or at least some of them are. It's waterproof, 16.4 foot cable. It would almost be nice if it was smaller than that. It's nice to have that amount, but the one thing I could think is if there was like a connector on it where you have maybe like 3 foot or 6 foot, and then the rest as an extension, so you don't have to use all of it all the time. But a lot of these, as long as the cable itself is strong enough to maintain its shape, you could kind of reel some of it up, and then you wouldn't have to extend it all out to use it. So the fact that they give you that much certainly isn't something worth complaining about. And I like the design of the handle and everything. And you can see you do get a 32 gigabyte SD card. It says it can do up to 4 hours powered on, and you get some accessories and hooks with it, which is nice. And then down here, some of the specs. So it's saying it's a 5-inch screen. It's a 1920. It's only 2 megapixels, but it is capable of 1080p. I do know a lot of these just don't have the highest megapixel count. I guess is just how it is. And again, you're not taking like a picture of, detailed stuff from a distance. You're up close quarters, so even that smaller amount should work. But I'll leave that there. You can check the listing for any further. And I'll just say right off the bat, it's nice that this comes packaged in its own carrying case. It's nice and sturdy. So if you want to use this on the job, you could put this in a bag, or you could carry this the way it is, and it'd keep everything nice and protected. There is a good bit of heft to it, so it's just a pretty solid package here. Yeah, it's just these are the type of latches, I guess, to just push outward, so that's why that's there. Nothing on the back. And I do like they already have some foam in here. So this is definitely a reusable case, since everything can be nicely held in it. I'll get to this in a second. Again, a ton of cable. Looks like it actually uses Type-C as the connection, which is different from others I've seen, so that's neat. A lot of them just use like well, it does have that same type of screw-on connector, but a lot of them use like different looking ports, so the simplicity of Type-C is always a good thing. I believe this will be the charging cable, so it's also Type-C, which I really like to see that. It's still USB Type-A on this end, but at least this end is Type-C. And then the screen and basically the whole unit itself. I like that. Fits nicely in the hand. It's definitely got some heft to it. I like this nice beefy handle. Some of them, they're just a little tablet, but I like this. And the fact that I guess I have a light here. So I'll have to consult with the instructions before I go too far. But I'm really impressed. And I like just this, actually just like these metal accents too. It just makes it look like a professional piece of equipment. So this is a separate light, I guess, just to kind of light up your actual workspace. But then you also have lights on the camera end too, which is really where you need them. But so you get this to light up the larger area, and that to light up your specific area. So it is pretty impressive. I think that button was actually turning that light on. So, and then there's a protective film over this, which I'll take off because I'm going to live a little. And I'm going to assume these are the hooks and probably the SD card unless it's already installed. Okay, so I've seen again other ones where you get maybe like one hook, so I like, this is like usually the standard one. Like they give you this really nice big hook. I mean, you could even use this on other things, but this is heavy duty one, so I like that. I believe this is a magnetic end. Yep. And the fact that that's holding up, I mean, doesn't really weigh anything, but still, it's a pretty powerful magnet there. So, and then you do get like a barbed end, which that would be good if you needed to spear something. Have several different options here, which is nice. So I'm assuming the SD card is already installed. Which you can see right here on this side piece. You have a reset button, your USB port, and then the included 32 gigabyte card. And there you go. So the first thing I'll do here is just show the user manual. Again, in case you're making a decision, because again, there's a lot to choose from on Amazon. Just show you all the features and workings, you know, the interface with all the different buttons, how this works. You can compare it to any other ones you're looking at. I think everything here is pretty competent. You know, I like that it actually uses Type-C, but you still do have that screw-on connection for, I assume probably for somewhat waterproofing, but also just to make it nice and secure because you're having that long cable on the end. And all three of these cameras are 1080p capable. And here's a lot of the specifications. So you're getting 2 megapixels at 1080p. There's your camera angle, so they really aren't wide angle, but I guess just those in conjunction do give you that 360 degree. It is saying it's waterproof at IP67. It's 720p resolution, but I guess also it goes up at 1080p and picture resolution, JPEG, which is, you know, it's a safe way to go. Now, one thing I've noticed is on some of the, I think the description is even here, but on the Amazon listing, it said that it's a 5-inch HD screen, but then it says here that the resolution's 480p. So I think there might be an issue with the language here. I do think this is a 480p screen. I think at this size, though, you'll be fine at 480p. Obviously, what matters the most is if you do take a picture or a video, you can then play it on a computer and see it in that full resolution. But I do want to check that when I turn it on. And you do get up to 64 gigabytes storage via SD card, and you do get that nice 32 with it, and 4400 milliamp hour battery, and it charges at 5 volts 1 amp. So you'll have to provide your own charger or plug it into a computer or something. And there's probably enough room in here where you can make your own little cutout to put a wall adapter if you would need to. Yeah, it tells you how to hook up the camera and the cable, the flash card, power, how the device works, and then like to view your saved photo and video. Okay, so I'm glad to see you can actually connect this not only for charging, but I guess it also supports data, so you can just connect this device straight to your computer, which is nice. And you can also use this device while it's charging. I think that's all for, okay, there is frequently asked questions. So that's pretty good. I mean, it should be enough to get you on your way. And I believe anytime you insert or remove the cable, you're supposed to push that in. I'll take this end, which that USB-C port's way down in there. As you can see, this is pretty long. I can hear it click. And then you just screw this on. It actually goes on quite a bit. And then this, you know, it's secure with that. And then obviously the screw down. And then on this end, I would like to mention that there is this little protective cap, so make sure you take that off, because then you'll be using it and wonder why you're not getting the clearest picture. Just a little rubber cap. Now if you want to keep it and put it back on, but I mean the whole point of this is you're going to be sticking this in who knows where, so it's probably going to get a little roughed up. But you have LED and a camera, LED camera, and then the main camera you have LEDs. I think it said it was 8 surrounding it, so that one's going to probably give you the best lighting. But the fact, one thing I'll mention again with this device, the Foxola, I think I saw another one where it was just the end camera, and then this was powered, and it would kind of rotate. I think I'd rather just have 3 cameras, so if one would fail or just get dirty or something while you're using it, you have 2 other options. So instead of making that one camera, though that was kind of neat, it's also probably a point of wear to where this Foxola does not have that, but you can still achieve maybe even better with multiple cameras. I like that better myself. And the first thing I'll do here is power it up. And the first thing I want to say is I do actually believe this is an HD screen. It looks sharper than 480p to me. Now again, in some of their language it says full HD screen, in others it says 480p. To me, it just looks sharp enough that I'm going to say this is a 1080p screen. If it isn't, and it is 480p, it still looks excellent. It looks nice and sharp. Again, I have the camera aimed at this. That text looks nice and sharp. And I'm impressed that I noticed too, these buttons light up. Now it's probably just the same backlight that's lighting up the screen, but the fact that there's any type of light on these, so if you're working in a dark environment, that's good. Now I can't speak to, I've never owned one of these. I can't speak to any of the other ones out there for sale, but at least the fact that this one has some light up buttons and a nice clear screen, I already am really satisfied with this one in particular. Now, just the way I have the camera orientated now, yep, so that's a flip. Now, I do know other ones do this, but again, the fact that it does, that's helpful. If you can't get in there and turn this, you don't have to worry about it. You just flip it. Now, one thing I do notice when you flip it, it seems like you lose some of the user interface. Not sure if that really affects the usability, but it seems like it'll come back to whatever it's designed as its default angle. So not that big of an issue, but that is something I'm noticing. The different, so that's the highest, that's the next, that's the next. Okay, so it's just typical 3, high, medium, and low. That's on the outer ring for that end facing camera, and then this is one of the side cameras, so this one's on the inside. You can see that one, which even over here, obviously this is about 2.5, 3 feet away from the camera, but it's still, you can still tell there's a hand there even though it's not really in focus as it would be up close. And if you can see here, the LED you can control, and that one's also 3, so all of these do high, medium, and low, and you can see it actually does a pretty good job there zooming in on my hand. And you can zoom in up to 2 times. So I'm going to use full resolution. It just makes sense to me. Keep that on for now at least. I'll leave that on for now. And okay, so you have to press settings twice to go there. Auto power off. Leave that off. Here's the languages. So that's a good bit to choose from. Set the date and time. Hopefully it keeps it pretty good. I'll set that off camera. That would just format the card, which I don't need to do, but I just did anyway. It's not touchscreen, so yeah, I do have to use this. And that just tells you the amount of data left on your card and the version of the device itself. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so that took a picture. Up there, the M stands for mode, so I was in picture mode. Press it again, now I'm in video mode, so I believe this shutter button here will just start recording a video. And you get that readout there. So that's impressive, I like that. Press it again, ends the recording, and then the next mode should probably show. So it's a gallery that you can view both the photo and the video together, which I like. Start recording a video, and you get that readout there. So that's impressive. And you do have a microphone. I don't know if you could pick that up, but it records audio. I'm not sure if you can disable that. It would be nice if you could just kind of do it on the go instead of doing it in the settings. But I do like, you can be quiet obviously, but if you wanted to just say this is where I have it aimed, or just so you can mark where your things are at and kind of have a game plan. If you're working on something, you can just say it in here and know what you're doing. Another thing I'd like to show would be just the accessories. So I'll go with this average sized hook here, kind of just for in smaller space. Yeah, be careful not to drop that. So these thread-ons, that's pretty good. I was worried they might just go on magnetically, and then obviously you're putting this, potentially 16 feet into something, it falls off and you have a problem. But that goes on nice and tight. That would definitely work. And I am going to put on the magnet one. And again, as you can see, that could probably pick up something light, or you can at least find where something's at and use a magnetic picker too if you needed to. And then again, you have these options with the hooks. So that's a pretty competent setup, just how everything screws on, so it's nice and safe there to go with. Then I'll just screw this regular bezel back on for now. Now in the product description, I see they say this is good for like ductwork, HVAC, plumbing. Thankfully, those are things I've never needed to do really. I've never lost anything down a drain where I needed to, snake something down it or clog it. I guess you could use this to break up a clog, but I would think, why use a nice tool like this just to break a clog? Unless you drop something down there and you wanted to see where it's at. I think just for inspection purposes, I would probably mostly only use this for automotive. Main reason, you drop something in the engine, you can't see it. If you have an idea, you can stick this down, get in a tight spot and see if you can find it that way. Luckily, again, right now, there's really no thing I can think of right off the bat to do this, and it's kind of winter out, so I'm not going to just try and stick this randomly somewhere in my car to try and find something. So I'm just going to demonstrate the poor man's way with a couple of just dark little areas I can put this in. Or if you rebuild engines, that'd be a nice thing too. You can put it down in the engine and inspect different parts of the engine, see if there's any wear or anything. But just for the demonstrations right now, I'll go ahead. First, let me just turn this. Well, actually, while it's on, again, you can see that print is really sharp. So again, if this screen isn't 1080p, I would actually be surprised, because it's nice and sharp. Now again, everything's kind of inverted, so I can't get the exact angle I'm looking for. Let me turn this light off. So now it's just natural light and there's not as much glare. But yeah, just for, up close, that's a nice pinpoint resolution. So I did put a dime in this. And you want to be careful not to scratch. Again, it says in the instructions not to scratch that coating because it does waterproof this. Now, I mean, there are wires in this, but the wires themselves should be coated too. And it is, water resistant. So as long as you're not too rough with it, I think you'll be fine. You really can't see too much in here. Let me turn a light on. So that's the highest. And look, you can see that dime. I mean, I thought maybe it wouldn't even come across that clear. Let me flip it and see if I can get my orientation a little better here. Okay, so this is like, doesn't feel inverted, if you know what I mean. So this would be the preferred angle I would use, or I could just flip the camera, take it out and do that. But you can see, I mean, you can even read. Let me turn it, settings for, so that's high, medium, and low. But again, it seems like if you're inverted, you can't do anything. See, it'll just, that's one thing I don't like, because you can't interact with everything while it's inverted. So you could use that to get the image you want, but as soon as you start changing anything, it reverts back to default. But that's not that bad. Now, let me change the camera. That's a side view, which wouldn't be as good since what I'm aiming at it's directly down. You can see a few drops of water still, but all these cameras, again, are doing just a fine job. You can see the coin edge of that. You make out each groove. And let's see here, let me go back to the main camera, the one on the end. And let me try the zoom. 1 time, 2 times. I'm pretty impressed. Now, you do need the LED on. It doesn't seem to be enough of a sensor in a pitch black spot like that. But again, since you get LEDs on every camera, no issue. And again, I think right now is the perfect. That's nice and sharp. I mean, you can read all that. So that's really impressive. It actually looks a little bit better in person than it does through the viewfinder on the camera. But I'll also try one other. And one thing I would like to mention is I noticed this is actually getting quite warm to the touch. So these LEDs are pretty bright. I can definitely feel some heat. I don't think it'd be enough to ever cause a safety issue because it's been on for a few minutes now. But yeah, it definitely does get a little bit warm. So, I mean, these are bright LEDs, so I don't see any issue with that, but I just wanted to mention that because I noticed it. And the last thing I'll show is I just put this dollar bill in a box. So it's pretty much pitch black in there. It's being illuminated. Look how great that looks. I mean, again, what you're seeing on the viewfinder compared to what I'm seeing on this display, this is pinpoint sharp. So this screen has to be HD. It looks great. I can read all of this. Again, I can flip it and it looks better like that. But then if I go to adjust anything, it's going to take it back. All these brightness settings, maybe again for just the battery life and heat sake, you can probably just use that on the lowest setting. Because again, if you're pitch black, you're up close to it, just having any little light at all is more than enough for what I'm seeing here. Now these sides, for what I'm looking at here, they're not going to provide me any information. The way I have that camera angled, that down facing one's the one I want for this. But I love, again, depends where you're at, what you're doing, the fact that you have the option to get those 2 side cameras and you have the control for LED lights for all of them, and 1.5 and 2 times zoom. And I don't even have that camera pushed the whole way up against that dollar bill. It's probably at least a few inches away from it. So I can, not say something, I am in an engine or something that's dirty, oily, I don't have to touch it and get the oil on. I can just put it close to it and zoom in up to 2 times. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm really impressed with this. It just has a nice build quality. I love that screen. I like the interface. Again, the only thing, it might be a little too much, 16 feet of the cord here. You have to deal with that when you're using it. It would kind of be nice if there was just a cutoff and you could use a small amount or use all of it, a couple of them together. But that's a pretty small price to pay, because if you need that, you have it. I'm impressed with how it works. I like they give you everything you need, and I think even you get a few more things than you do with some of the other brands. So I really think the Foxola is definitely the one to go for in this price range. I'm impressed with it. I wish I would have had this for situations just like this where you need something where you can't get a little inspection mirror in, or you can't use your phone or something. This would just work great, and that's definitely a usable image right there. So I'll leave it at that. Again, check out their listing if you need know anything else about it or anything I can help or look at for you. But thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.